Well. Welcome to Speaking of Zane, July the 2nd. How about that? July the 2nd. We are at the middle of the year. We're um, having some long days. You see, I've got my flags down and it's 8:33 and the sun's still out. It'll be out for another 30, 40, 50 minutes, I guess. But good to have you all in here on Sunday. Wow, it's we're only 2 days into a 4-day weekend. Actually, I have one meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow's not a holiday. Most people are taking the day off, but I have one meeting tomorrow, and then I'm going to do some catch-up stuff. But and then we're off on Tuesday, of course. But it's good to have a long weekend. We've got some barbecuing planned for Tuesday. I'm going to make some succulent, juicy hamburgers on the grill, and I'm excited about that. And our son Jackson has some moose meat. One of his coworkers or colleagues or customers or somebody brought him some moose meat. So he's got a moose roast and he's got some moose steaks, I think. So we're gonna give that a try. As well. Well, let's see who we've got in here tonight on the holiday weekend. Lori's in there, Daryl's in there, Ken's in there, Matt Aaron's in there, Aunt Cindy over in Alabama's in there. Hey, Aunt Cindy. Aunt Mary, two of my aunts there. My Aunt Mary's in there. My dad's in there. Hey, Dad. Carl Q from down up in Warsaw, Missouri, the Show Me State. Let's see, Jimbo Miller's in there from the Omaha, Nebraska area. Matt says he's smoking a pork butt. That's excellent. Well, I just did one of those recently. I did some ribs last week too. Oh, a slab of ribs were outstanding. Lori says she's not having any moose meat. Well, that'll be more for me and Jackson. But good stuff. All right, what do we got going? So happy Independence Day for sure. Looking forward to that. Let's see, what else? Oh, Lori's car. I mentioned last week, Lori, we're having some trouble with Lori's car, oil pressure. But you know what? I had the oil changed, filter changed, all of that stuff, hoping that was part of the problem. We did let the oil get kind of low there for a bit. But anyway, I'm just thinking there might have been some gunk in there causing that low pressure because I've got no codes on the reader. Let me get rid of that. There we go. I got no codes on the reader. I can watch the live stream of the data. No problems there. And I drove it yesterday and I drove it again today and no light, no codes. So we'll see how things go. Now, we were fortunate enough that I think I mentioned last week, Everett's dad, Enoch, is in the car business. And anyway, Lori was over there watching their two little babies, twins, Ezra and Maya, last week for a couple of days. And Enoch just gave Lori a car to use until we can figure out what's wrong with hers or get it fixed or whatever. So she's got a car for a little bit because Everett and his dad and his siblings are going to Enoch's home country of Ghana tomorrow for 3 weeks. I think that's right, Lori? 3 weeks. This will be Everett's first big journey, but should be interesting to hear back from him. But anyway, so Lori's got a car that she can till we can be sure hers isn't going to explode or something. But anyway, all right, let's see. That takes a little bit off little worry off me. I'm actually heading out of town for a week, not this coming week, but the following week. And of course, anytime you go out of town, that's when things happen typically. But got a little breathing room there. Okay, let's see what else is going on at work. So you guys know I'm sort of the principal of an academy. How this happened, I have no idea, but I run this academy for this next generation of sales and engineering professionals. Well, my most current group finished. It's a 1 year program, and they're with this old man every single day for 1 year, and I'm teaching them. And I have some people that help me, but thank goodness. Anyway, so this last crop of 12, a dozen of the engineers um, completed my curriculum this week. Friday was our last official meeting together, and now actually I send them out into the field. Um, I play a little part in their continuing development. I help sort of construct what their continuing development plan looks like, because they're rookie engineers. They've never worked in the field. So I gave them a good 1 year crash course, and now I help them develop a continuing education plan. And anyway, so they're all going to new teams beginning next week. All but four of them, actually. Um, Four of them, I haven't quite found the perfect place for them yet, and we're not settling for anything less than what's perfect for them and for the business. So I've got some of them I'm hanging on to a little while until we get the right place for them. One young lady, trying to position her in the UK, actually. That's where she wants to be. So I'm working on making that happen. Anyway, so there's this weight lifted, this this responsibility of these dozen young engineers. They've successfully completed what I've put them through, and now I'm working on some other things over the next year. A couple of other new things I've taken on, and some other responsibilities, and then I will begin a new group of about 24, a dozen engineers and a dozen sales folks next summer, and they'll run for a year. But anyway, so just exciting stuff there. Let's see. Weight loss is steady. So I think I've hit, you lose weight, you get to a certain thing, you gain weight, you gain a pound, gain 2 pounds, and you eventually arrive at your sort of foundational weight, and then you go up and down from that. Well, I've hit a new one that I'm pretty stable at, and that's the one I reported: 83 pounds lost. But I have a new goal. I finally figured out what the new goal is, and that's to lose 7 more pounds. So I want to be able to say I've lost a grand total of 90 pounds. So that means 7 more pounds, which is going to be a piece of cake. Actually, I'm trying to rope in a few of my colleagues at work to, it seems to work better when you have somebody that you're competing with and cooperating with. And anyway, so that's the new game plan. All right. Well, let's see what else is going on. Hat of the week. Well, why do you think the Atlanta Braves ball cap is the hat of the week, Ken? Because they are the best team in baseball. Actually, they may not be the best team in baseball, maybe just a little bit behind Tampa, but they are the best team in the National League. That's faux show. I cannot remember the last time they lost. Won again today, swept the Marlins after sweeping the Twins. But when is the All-Star break? We're coming up. I think there's two more series before we get to the All-Star break, I think. But anyway, so the Braves are doing good, and that is why the Atlanta Braves ball cap is the hat of the week. Let's see. This week in military history, I have a couple of items here. July the 2nd of 1937, Amelia Earhart disappears. She was but 30. I think she was 39 years old. And on July 2nd, somewhere over the South Pacific, they think, she disappeared and has never been found. And Kent's got one in there, June 27th, 1923, first aerial refueling. I can't believe I missed that one. Now, we all know Steve and Kathy are on a trip right now, a 40th anniversary trip. And he may not be watching, speaking of Zane right now, but I guarantee you, Ken, he'll watch the recording and he'll see your post there. So you better be careful, young man. But I have it on good authority that he was, yes, and he gave a check ride to a young boom operator on that flight. Let's see. Speaking of aviation, on June the 30th of 1968, the very first Lockheed C-5A Galaxy took off on its maiden flight from Marietta, Georgia, right here at Dobbins Air Base, it's called now. But of course, that's where the Lockheed plant is at. So June 30th, 1968, and the C-5s are still flying. I think they're on the C-5. They skipped some letters, C-5A, C-5B. Now they're on the C-5M. It's the Super Galaxy. But the Galaxy has never been the most reliable aircraft. I think at a period of time, only half the fleet was ever airworthy because there's such maintenance involved on the C-5. But I have flown a lot on C-5s. Sure have when I was based at Milton Hall. All right, let's see. And speaking of aviation, July the 1st of 1985, July the 1st of 1985, Daryl Cottrell, our good friend in Florissant, Missouri, retired from the United States Air Force. Daryl joined the Air Force at 17 in 1960. Help me, Daryl. Is it 61 or 63? Daryl was but a young lad there. Daryl went on to have a very productive career in the Air Force, and I got to know him first in 1982, and then just 3 years later he retired and has been retired for a good bit now. That's pretty. Daryl, you've been retired a lot longer than you served, but that's the way the clock runs. Yeah, 1963. So Daryl joined the Air Force in I think it was October 63, which meant that I was but 7 months old. I was 7 months old when Daryl enlisted in the Air Force. And then all those years later, I guess about 17, 18 years later, we meet. And all these years later, now we're friends. How about that? So congratulations on a successful career and retirement, Daryl. Good stuff. All right. Well, let's see. We had some Veteran Cemetery Challenge visits this week. Daryl to Jefferson Barracks, of course. Daryl, you guys have had some, I know you planned on going yesterday, but you guys had some bad weather there, didn't you? Had some, I know most of my colleagues live in St. Louis, where our headquarters is, so I hear the weather all the time from them. But I know you guys had some severe weather yesterday, which kept you from Jefferson Barracks, but I know you visited today. And of course, my dad, now I'm going to lose track of my dad's visits. So I'm always going to assume that he'd made at least one visit per week to Evergreen, where my dear mother rests. She's been gone for 2 months now, right, Dad? And it's hard to believe for sure. And then Jim Miller, I saw you posted a visit to Omaha National. Daryl, or Jim has to. Jim, on Jim's regular routine, he drives past Omaha National Cemetery, and he makes quite a few visits. And he made a visit this week to Omaha National. And when he goes there, he visits Corporal Dagan Page, who was killed in the withdrawal from Afghanistan. He visits our colleague Todd Vanderwerken, who we all flew with. And now he visits Roy Walton, who was also a fellow crew member, and he's buried at Omaha National. All right, let's see. So, and Carl and Peggy. Oh, Carl and Peggy went on their way back to Missouri. They stopped by Fort Donaldson National Battlefield in Tennessee, right, Carl? And visited. There's a national cemetery there, and there's a Confederate States of America memorial, and Carl posted some nice pics from there on the Speaking of Zane Facebook group. Thank you, Carl, for doing that. And I'm not sure if that may be a new one for our challenge. See, I don't know if I've been there, Carl. I've been to the cemetery. I've been to the National Cemetery there near Murfreesboro. What is it called? Oh, of course, that's east of Nashville. I can't remember anyway, but I'm going to take a look and add that to the map if it's a new one for us. So if I count, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like we had 4 visits this week. So we're sitting at 851 visits. So we have 149 visits to get to 1,000. That'll be a big milestone. 1,000. 851 visits to 175 different locations. Okay, let's see. Thank a Bet Challenge. We had a lot of thank yous. You guys were piping in there this week. Lori had a couple. Lori, was that today? Lori, I think Lori went to lunch today with Hannah and Everett. And she thanked 2 Georgia State Patrol officers. And she herself was thanked at Kroger. So it's always good to be thanked. And then Aunt Paula today thanked, well, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but 6 Pasco County deputies, one of whom was an Air Force veteran. And then Katie, I got your post last week about a Marine at your work. So we got that one in. My dad, speaking of Marines, my dad thanked a Marine vet today at the Home Depot. I got to ask you, Dad, does Cody know you are at the Home Depot? Cody's his grandson who works at Lowe's, who's in the Tennessee National Guard. But and Dad, I understand you gave this Marine one of those thank you for your service challenge coins. How about that? And then I understand you ran into another Marine at the Walmart. How about that? And Carl, I got your post. You thanked a disabled Air Force vet at the Mighty 8th Air Force. And I understand was he at Mildenhall the same time as you, or just in the UK the same time as you? I saw your post there, but I don't remember the details. But that's always good. I have a guy at work that was at Lakenheath at exactly the same time that we were at Mildenhall. And what are the odds? Oh, Greenham Common. Okay. Let's see. And then I had an interesting, interesting transactions this week. We have a business partner. One of our technology partners is called NetApp, and NetApp is in the business of making really good quality storage solutions for data centers. And there's a guy called Jerry. You've heard me talk about Jerry before. Jerry was an Army vet, and now he works for NetApp. We've known each other over 10 years now. We hit it off early. When I first got to the company I work for, I met him in St. Louis, and he says, "Yeah, I was in the Army, and my son's in the Air Force." I said, "Well," well, I was in the Air Force, my son's in the Army." So it's kind of a cool thing we had. And he's the guy whose son his Air Force son um, got out, did contract work, and was a crew member on one of the one of those surveillance planes. And if you remember me talking about this a few years ago, the base he was flying out of in Africa was overrun. And if you remember, an RPG struck the airplane he was in, him and his crew. He's two pilots. He was the back end sensor operator running all the sensors and comm. And they were on taxiing out to go on a mission when the plane was struck and killed the two pilots. And he was able to crawl out the back of the plane. And anyway, you've heard me talk about him before, but that's the guy, Jerry's his dad. That's the guy I worked with at NetApp. And he orchestrated a meeting between me and some of the guys that lead the veterans employee organization at his company, which is what I do at my company. So he orchestrated for us all to get together because I'm trying to get them to help with my Warriors Place. And so I described the scenario to them about Kelly hosting the families of the 13 that were killed in the Afghanistan withdrawal. Anyway, so I'm trying to get them to help contribute so that we can pay for the flights of any of the family members that can't make it. Anyway, they were so great. There were two of them were Marine Corps veterans. One was a Navy vet, and then one Army and one Air Force. And we had a really good conversation. It looks like they're going to help. I've got to write up a little one pager describing everything for them. And so I think their company's going to assist. But one of the guys turns out one of the guys is the current commandant of the Marine Corps League in the state of North Carolina. And he wants to help on behalf of the Marine Corps League. Of course, most of those killed were Marines, including Corporal Dagan Page, who's buried at Omaha National. Anyway, so I got a chance to meet with and thank all 6 of them. And then I'll keep you guys up to date on our effort to help Kelly with this endeavor later in August. But it's looking good there. So, and I was on another call this week, and one of the guys who I was expecting on the call is a retired Navy officer, John Sprague. And the call he and I were on, he had a guy in the conference room with him sitting in, and this was a new guy I had never met. He's retired Army or retired naval officer, and he was a submariner. And anyway, on nuclear submarines, well, you'll never guess what his name is, Newcomb. And he says, yeah, it's always a joke. He served on nukes, and his name is Newcomb. And so he was not surprised when I said, "You're kidding me, right?" He says, "No." He says, "Yeah, whenever the captain of the boat would say Newcomb, I would say, aye, aye, sir." And anyway, it's a joke. But anyway, so I got another Navy guy there. Now, one of the most interesting conversations of the week by far was with a guy by the name of Mo. What is Mo's last name? I can't pronounce it, but I'm going to try. Let's see. Alcazaz, Mo Alcazaz. And Mo's Mo is short for Mohaned, not Mohammed, Mohaned. So his name is Mohaned Alcazaz, and he goes by Mo. And he's an engineering manager, and he's interested in one of my guys to come on his team. So we're having a conversation, and he had, and I could tell he's not a Native American. And over his right shoulder was this screaming eagle, just a statue of a fierce bald eagle. And I'm like, there's something about this guy. I'm like, hey Mo, what's the story behind the eagle? And he told me, and I said, well, if you don't mind me asking, what's your country of origin? He says, I'm from Iraq. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. And he says, no. He says, I was, I was born in Iraq and Baghdad, and he began to tell me a story. And he said, come along, 2000, 2005, 6, 7. He says, I was working for went to university in Baghdad, and he was working for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Baghdad through the war. And just fascinating. And like most immigrants that come here the right way, this guy is one of the most patriotic Americans that you'll ever meet, because he knows what freedom is and he knows what it means not to have it. And we have Americans in this country that take everything we have for granted and bitch about everything. And this guy's happy to be alive and happy to be free and happy to be a doggone American. And I'm like, wow, what a great conversation I had with him running up into Independence Day. But we're scheduled to talk again. He lives in St. Louis, and we're going to get together next time I'm up there. But I love those stories, and almost without fail. And I meet a lot of people in technology, and a lot of people that have come from other places, India, Central America, the Middle East, Eastern Europe. And almost without fail, they are some of the most patriotic Americans that you'll ever meet, more patriotic than many Americans. And they absolutely don't take for granted what they have here. And that's what I love about them. But anyway, that's my patriotic story for the week. Okay, well, let's see. So we're up to, I think that was 18 thank yous this week. That I've counted, and that puts our total to 2,188 times somebody has heard thank you, or hey, what did you do in the military, or hey, I appreciate you, or hey, I served too. So kind of fun that we've been able to do that. Okay, well, let's see. On the organizations front, we've got our Running to Honor 5K. We are finally in the month of July, and toward the end of this month, we will participate in the Running to Honor 5K. I'm excited about that. I already told you about My Warriors Place, Corporal Dagan Page Foundation. I'm trying to help raise some money so we can get the families of those 13 down to My Warriors Place. And, I don't know if Amy Walton's in here tonight, but we lost another fellow Airborne Command Post crew member this past week, unfortunately. Radio operator, communications operator, Hank Rowe passed away on June the 29th. And Hank was a larger-than-life personality when we all knew him. Without a doubt, if you knew Hank Rowe, you know what I'm talking about. But he had battled with ALS for quite a number of years now. I don't know how many years, but gosh, at least 3, 4, 5, maybe more. But he finally succumbed on June the 29th. And I don't recall exactly where he lives. I don't know if anybody else knows where he lives, but I know all the normal Facebook groups that we have will be somewhere along the way. You'll see what the arrangements are. I'm not quite sure where he will be buried, but he'll be missed. Hank Rowe, larger than life personality for sure. Okay, well, that is all I've got for this edition of Speaking of Zane. I sure appreciate everybody joining. I hope you have a fantastic 4th of July. As I mentioned, we're doing the classic cookout here, and we'll be doing some juicy hamburgers and some moose meat. Moose meat, yes. Thanks to Jackson and one of his friends or customers. I can't remember how he got the moose meat, but we're going to try it, and we'll let you know about it next week. Maybe next week, Sunday night, I'll be in England. I'm not sure how Speaking of Zane's going to go next week, but I'll let you guys know one way or the other. But we appreciate you guys joining. This is probably Lori's. One of Lori's favorite times. You should see the front of our house. Very patriotic, with banners and everything. And she is a patriotic American, and the house reflects that here in the neighborhood. I think she may have even got some of those very benign fireworks that we will pale in comparison to some of our neighbors, but should be fun nonetheless. But have a great week, everybody. Happy 4th of July, Independence Day for sure. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys along the way. And hopefully next weekend for Speaking of Zane. Be good, everybody. Take care.